sometimes it's nice to play something more chill. Something that can be a palate cleanser in between all of these grand experiences. Games that include fishing, karate, flying around as a chicken, and some of these games feature a fairly decent challenge if you're looking for it. So kick your feet up and get comfortable because we're about to go through 5 casual games that you can play on Steam right now. First up is a very charming game called Bubble Frog DX. It's a 2D puzzle platformer where you play as a frog within a bubble and you navigate this frog through some very treacherous areas. There's spikes to avoid, keys to be found, and since Bubble Frog can only take one hit, you've got to be very careful. And although this game starts off fairly simple, Bubble Frog DX quickly introduces some timing challenges as well as more crafty level designs as the game goes on. But the controls in this game stay simple from the start. You flap the frog around to swim it through levels and you move it around with the joystick. And the story in Bubble Frog DX is adorable in and of itself. You're playing as this frog in a bubble and your mission is to rescue a bunch of onigiri, which are actually living and sentient. And every few levels you're going to see a cutscene that features the game's other characters, and sometimes they'll teach you about the oncoming obstacles of the levels you're about to start. Now I know this sounds like a fairly difficult casual game, but the normal mode in Bubble Frog DX offers you unlimited lives to get through each level. So you can fail as many times as you need to on each level with no concern of being kicked back to the title screen. But if you are looking for a challenge out of Bubble Frog DX, you can turn to hard mode for a limit of 20 lives for the entire playthrough. Of course, you should only seek that challenge out if you've already beaten normal mode and you just want to play more Bubble Frog DX. So whichever way you plan on playing Bubble Frog DX, you do have to buy it on Steam and it's available right now. Wilmot Works It Out is quite literally a puzzle game. And what I mean by this is that you're actually restructuring a picture that's been broken up into separate tiles. And you can take as long as you need to solve each puzzle. It's the perfect game to just sit back and relax with. And once you solve your puzzle, you can proudly display it on the walls of Wilmot's house. And it's up to you how Wilmot's wall art is laid out. At first I tried to keep things together by tone, and then I tried to organize them by color, but it didn't really matter because I could change things up as often as I liked. And although it's not the main focus of the game, Wilmot Works It Out does have a bit of a story. In spite of Wilmot being a little tile with a face, his mail carrier is very much a human being. And since Wilmot receives these puzzle pieces because he signed up for a subscription service, the mail carrier is going to show up, deliver the pieces, and then overshare their life a bit. There was one instance where the mail carrier showed up and looked especially sad, so I had Wilmot ask them what's wrong. And the mail carrier proceeded to talk about their sister and that she's not doing so well, and then went about their day. And as the game goes on, you get more puzzles, you unlock different rooms to hang them in, and you learn more about this mail carrier's life. There are no stakes at all here, and the game is better off for it. And if you want to add Wilmot Works It Out to your collection, then you can do so right now on Steam. Karate Survivor, which is the next game we're going to talk about, is probably the most challenging game on this list. It's yet another game inspired by the super popular Vampire Survivors, but if you don't know what that is, let me explain. Using Karate Survivor as the example here, you play as a martial artist who you only control the movement of. And what I mean is that you don't control when this martial artist attacks, but you do control where the martial artist goes. So your goal is to try and time the martial artist attacks to when he's near an enemy. But beyond that, there are collectibles to be found on each level, as well as weapons and throwable items. Some weapons are perfect for taking on big groups of enemies at once, while others are great for taking on enemies from a distance. And there's always going to be a bit of strategy involved with which weapons you take when, because there are some really powerful items available to you, but you don't want to waste them too early in your run. Anyway, this game starts to get really crazy when we talk about leveling up. As the Karate Master defeats enemies, they're going to drop their cash, and that's your experience points. Early in the game, level ups happen fairly frequently, but that's your chance to basically build out your character. We're talking about the moveset that this martial artist is going to use, as well as the perks they're going to take advantage of throughout this session. So the game does start off fairly simple. You're just running around punching bad guys, but as things get more complicated, more enemies are going to spawn at once. So you want to make sure the entire time that you're building into a certain type of character based on the perks that you've been given to choose from. But one thing I found really interesting was the way the movesets work. Moves are broken up into two different colors. You got red moves and blue moves. I think red moves are punches and blue moves are kicks, but I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, as you learn new moves, you want to make sure that you're pairing up red moves and blue moves because that gives them damage bonuses. And if you really want to get into the nitty gritty, each move does have its own effect, whether we're talking about the critical damage that it's going to do as well as the radius that it can cover. But with all of that being said, I know this game sounds very complicated, but the act of actually playing it is fairly mindless. Because at its very core, all you're actually doing is maneuvering a martial artist throughout the stage while they do all the hard stuff. And your reward for building out a character that's got a great moveset with lots of good perks is seeing them kick all this butt with a lot of great animations. It is very gratifying to watch a group of bad guys fall victim to one dude just throwing punches and kicks. Not to mention that this whole game has a 90s aesthetic to it, so it's clear that they're referencing that era of martial art movies. So whether you're a fan of these Survivor-like games or you just want to see a martial artist kick some butt, then you can get Karate Survivor on Steam right now. Web fishing is a relaxing game about fishing. You walk around this chill campground, you find some water, you cast your rod, and you catch a fish. After that, you can donate the fish to an aquarium or sell it for cash to buy yourself some clothes. Once you do that, you repeat the process and catch more fish. Gameplay-wise, that is about as complicated as this game gets. Yeah, the mini game for catching a fish might get more difficult the more rare your catch is, but beyond that, this is web fishing. All of that being said, the real draw behind web fishing is the social component. When you first load up this game, you're given a list of public servers you can join, as well as being able to start your own for your friends or a private one with no one. And I figured if I'm going to talk about this game to you, I needed to try the public chat at least one time. So I found a room that was mostly full and just joined. And at first the chat was really quiet. There was really nobody talking, so I just found some water and started fishing. And after a bit, I noticed that people's rank ups were showing up in the chat, and I took that moment to congratulate the person who leveled up. And sure enough, they said thank you, and then from there, people started to warm up a little bit. And after that, people just started talking, and the conversations were all about web fishing. Some people were finding little glitches that they were trying to exploit, while other people were just sharing spots that they like to fish out of. As someone who grew up playing games that had public lobbies as big as web fishing's lobbies, it was really cool to see that kind of experience still exists in some way. There's a very short-term amount of camaraderie that exists between 12 people playing a match of any game online. And when those conversations actually stay positive and fairly fun, it could be a great experience. All of this is to say that you should always be very careful before joining any public chat on the internet, especially one in a video game. But this experience with web fishing was actually a great time for me, and I think this would be even better if I played it with some friends. Whether you're looking for a solo and chill fishing experience or a more social one, you can get web fishing on Steam right now. However, it is worth noting that you can only play this game on keyboard and mouse, so it's not exactly Steam Deck compatible. Hopefully they're going to add controller support down the line. Now let's talk about a game called Behemoth, and it's made by the company, the Behemoth. If you're not familiar, the Behemoth is responsible for games like Castle Crashers and Battle Block Theater, and now they've made a game starring their mascot, the Behemoth Chicken. The goal of this game is to go as far as you can while collecting baby chickens along the way. And while you are escorting them safely to each nest, you're also using them as a shield to get through obstacles. And as you move further and further, you're going to find power-ups that make it easier for you to destroy obstacles, as well as more obstacles that are going to get in your way. But what I really liked about this game was how wild things looked on the screen the better I did. This is the kind of game that you're just focusing on your score. You're not trying to get through levels, you're not trying to beat any bosses, you're just trying to survive as long as you can. And once you lose, you start right over and it feels like you never left. Now that I think about it, the Behemoth Game Studio always has arcade machines set up at PAX, and now I'm pretty sure they're going to make one for Behemoth as well. And I can only imagine that people are going to surround this game trying to get the high score. And on the other hand, for better or worse, this game could easily be on mobile since all you're doing is flapping and moving the chicken. So if you're looking for a very casual arcade-like experience, then you can get the Behemoth on Steam right now. It's these more casual experiences that are sometimes the perfect way to end an otherwise busy day. So if any of these games stood out to you, then make sure you let me know in the comments, because I do like seeing what resonates with people when I make these lists. And on top of that, if there are any games that you do play that are not on this list that you would consider more casual and chill, then be sure to add those as well. I always say it, one of my favorite things about making YouTube videos is when people tell me what games they're playing. If you like the games from this video, then make sure you like the video, and if you really like this video and videos like this, then make sure you subscribe to my channel. I talk about video games all the time here, so if that's the kind of thing you like to hear about, then we're gonna get along just fine. With all that being said, thank you for letting me talk your ear off about 5 casual games on Steam that I think are actually pretty good, and I will see you in the next video.